Hi and welcome to this video, and in this one we're looking at masking in Photoshop. We've got quite a difficult subject here. What I will say about masking is a lot really depends on the background, and with a girl like this with a complex hair, it really helps if you're going to put that on a different background and mask it out, that you need really to make it simple. You want to put it on a nice plain background. So if you're taking the photo yourself, and you've got a photo you want to do of your daughter, say, or a son or something like that, or a friend, family, whatever, wedding shots, put them on a plain background like this and just make life a little bit simpler. We will look at other photos that have got more complex backgrounds, and this really isn't easy, and there's a number of reasons for that. Is even if you're putting things on a white background, because there's such a contrast with the hair colour being dark, it's getting rid of all those little white areas so that they don't show. It's going to pick up areas of the background. And there's a brand new tool in Photoshop. It's not been out that long, and this is important as well. If you've got Photoshop, make sure you update regular, get up the latest up-to-date versions, because things are improving all the time. As old as a program is, it's constantly improving, and there's lots of updates. But there is a tool now, the quick selection tool, has been with Photoshop for some time. So I'm going to click on that tool and show you which one it is. It's got like a circle and a brush, and that's called the quick selection tool. It actually tells you that if you hold your mouse down, you will see it's also got the magic wand in this area, which is one of the older tools. Still useful. Okay, but we're using this quick selection tool, and the reason we're using this is Photoshop has brought in something new on the options bar called Select Subject. Now this is great because it doesn't always do something fantastically well, but it's always a very good starting point. And what it tries to do is it uses artificial intelligence to look at the picture and try and say, right, that's what you want on the picture, that's the main subject, and I'll select it for you. And it's as simple as just clicking on the button. Now what I'm going to do first of all is just duplicate this background layer. So when you click on the layers palette, it's always a good idea to protect your original image. So I'm going to right click on this, use the right mouse button and click on duplicate layer. Click on OK, and then we've got two copies, and we're working now on this copy. So there'll be lots of more copies as well going on when we progress, but you'll see that. Okay, so we just click this button, select subject, and it's working away. You'll see it whirring away, and depending on how complex it is, you'll then get a selection. And you can see I've got dotted lines going around there now. And you can use these tools up here to add to a selection if it's not got everything you want there, or to add and subtract just by clicking and painting on different areas. But in this case, it's probably done as good as it's going to do, I think. There's probably a little bit down the bottom there, so I'm going to click on the minus brush and just brush out this tiny little bit at the bottom there. You can just click, actually, you don't have to brush. And I may want to tighten, it's just a little bit loose on the shoulder there. I can actually do that later and show you different techniques for that. So I don't want to get too involved at this stage. We want Photoshop to do its job as such. So the next thing I do now is click this button where it says select and mask. So that's selected the subject, and then we click this one, and this will take us into select and mask. Now if I look at the different options for the view mode there, if you click there, you can see the different. I want something that's going to contrast, and you can say on black. You can change the opacity of that, so I'm probably going to use black, but bring the opacity down a little bit just so I can see a little bit better. And you can see what I was saying, it's picked up loads of areas of white there. Okay, so next thing, we look at the tools on the right hand side, and these tools, you've got quick selection tool, and that would add to the selection basically, or if you click on the minus, subtract from the selection. And you've got this one, which is probably the most important. That's the Refine Edge brush. And this is the one that we're going to click on. And you can change the size of the brush. You've got the brush size there, and you can make it bigger or smaller. It's usually as well to use a hard brush to keep the hardness up. And I'm using something about this size, so you need to view the size obviously to see exactly what you want. And what we do with this is we put the actual brush on an area. You can see the little cross in the middle, so I'm going to click that so it's on a white area on the edge of the hair, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to keep the mouse button down, and I'm going to drag around the edge of the hair, coming into areas where I want the hair removed. It can be a little bit tricky down the shoulder there, and we can get rid of that after. When you let go of the brush, it tidy up a little bit. So I'm coming on this side now, and I'm going to do the same here. So I'm just moving into the hair, painting over. Sometimes it's a good idea to go over a couple of times and keeping the mouse button down. And I'm just coming on the edge there, around the shoulders. I'm not going too deep on this area because she's got a white top on. That may, there we go, and then I'll come back on this side. We'll do the shoulder on this side. Just taking my time, coming her through. Go. There we go. So it's not done too bad a job. You can see it's not perfect, and it's quite hard to get it perfect, I'll be able to admit. Especially with something that's complex. I picked a complex one. Okay, you're a beginner, but if you can do something quite complex to start with, you know, it's a help. But obviously you can do this with any picture. It doesn't have to be a girl with curly hair or whatever. But we're looking at something on a white background. Okay, so that's not too bad. You've got all these sliders on the right hand side, edge detection, radius, which you can, you know, you can play with these before you paint. You can also use smart radius, what's called smart radius, by clicking on that. And then you can global refinements. You can smooth it, feather it, contrast. And if we just put the contrast up a bit, let's just see if that helps things. And it is, it's just helping a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to use the brush again and just go over again in some areas. There we are. That's probably just a little bit down here. That's probably about as good as we're going to do. And I'm going to click OK. But before I do, I need to select the output. Now, the output, it says to selection at the moment. And I'm going to click on that and look at the other options. And what I want is a new layer with a layer mask. So make sure you select that. Then click on OK. And we can't really tell what it looks like at the moment. We need to hide the bottom layer, so I'm going to take the eye off. And you can see it looks okay. Yeah. So using that tool, if it works, sometimes it won't work. It depends on your subject, but that's probably the first place to start. And let's just put a background on this now. So what I want to do is, when I put the background onto this, I want it to appear below this layer. That's the layer with the mask on. That's all that's showing at the moment. I've hidden the other two. So when I put the layer on, I want it to come above the one below it, so that it's behind the head. Yeah, there's the head. So I want it behind that. So I'll make sure that I click on this layer. Then I open the picture that I want as the background. And I've already got one open here. And when you've opened it, we've done this before, click on the Move tool, put the mouse on the picture and click down and hold down the mouse, don't let go. Then move over to the tab where you've got the image, and I'm still keeping the mouse down, don't let go. Move the mouse onto the picture and let go. And there's the background. And I'm just going to resize this, move it around. So I can move it by clicking and moving it like that to make sure auto select is off on that when you do that. I got away with it. Yeah, so I'm just going to resize it. Click the tick on the options bar when you've resized something, and that just says, yeah, I've completed. And there we go, we've got the hair on the actual background. Now it's not perfect, far from perfect. If I was a professional, you know, it's not too bad. I mean, you get away. And this is just the complexity of the hair. Remember, not everybody's hair is this complex. But that's not bad. But if I was a professional, there would be a number of things that I would do to improve that. And I'm going to show you some of those tricks. I'm not going to show them all, but a few. If we look at the actual layer with the head on, and we look at the mask, I'm going to click on the mask. Now there's two tools in Photoshop, really old tools, that have been with Photoshop since day one, and they are called dodge and burn. Now, in a lot of cases, I don't use dodge and burn because there's different ways of doing that. And what it means is dodge makes something lighter when you paint on it, and burn darkens something. So they're old terms used from the darkroom. They are great tools for working on masks, and the reason for that is we're only working in black and white. If we look at the mask there, it's just black and white. Forget the picture, we're just working on the mask. So I've clicked on the mask, make sure that's selected. And the dodge and burn tools are selected down there, you'll find them. You can see the burn tool there, and if I hold down the mouse, you've got dodge and burn. So dodge is to lighten, burn is to make things darker. And what I want to do is to darken the edges of the hair to get rid of that white area. And remember, we're not working on the actual hair itself, we're working on the mask. So we're burning black and white back, basically. So when I click on the burn tool, you'll see how this works. On the options bar, make sure you select the range as highlights, because we only want to affect the highlights. We want to make those darker. And you'll see how this works now. So I'm going to make the brush bigger, and I'm using the parenthesis keys next to the enter key to do that, which I explained in the previous video. Or you can just size it from there if you're unsure. You can use this method. Click on there and change the size by dragging. I'm going to use a big brush, and I've got the exposure quite high on that. I'll take it down a little bit. Let's try about 53% to start with. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go around the edge. So I'm going on the shoulder here. I'm just getting the edge of the brush over the shoulder, and I'm just clicking one at a time, working nice and slow. And that's just neaten that up. And I come onto this side, you can see. I'm just repeatedly clicking, moving the brush around the edge. And you can see. And now I'm going to do that on the hair as well. Just these flyaway areas. And especially where we got this like smudging, I want to get rid of that altogether. So using this, just go through that. Around the edges of the hair. if I've gone too much, what I can also do, I want to bring a bit of detail back in that. I probably don't in most cases. It's nice to soften those edges. So, but if you did, there's a bit there. I could change that to the dodge tool, and I'd make sure that this was on highlights also, because I want to lighten the white area, the inside, to bring anything back. And I can just drag over and re-emphasize those areas. So using these two brushes, it's always best to remove first with the burn tool, and then any you want to bring back, just go over. Don't want to go too mad because I don't want to bring a lot of that back. I think you see now that's much improved. I'll probably just burn a little bit more in this area. That'll get rid of the weak areas first and leave the stronger areas, and swapping back then to the dodge tool. So from one to the other. There we go. So that's how to get it near perfect, and you've learned a lot of new tools there, and it's practice, you know. That is one image. Every image is completely different with selecting and masking things, so that's quite a tricky one to start with. And at a later stage, keep checking the videos, because I will put a link sometimes. I'm not sure whether I can do it. This is a royalty-free image, completely royalty-free. So if you search on if you go on Google, it's probably a better idea. If you go on Google and search for curly hair and find some curly hair pictures with white background, and you can select on there to get the royalty-free ones. If you use the tools on the Google images, you'll find, you may even find this one. So find some subjects with a nice plain background to practice on, or take some of your own. That's even better, you know. Get a friend or your husband, wife, or whatever, stick them behind a white sheet or anything you can use, just a nice plain background. Take a photo and see if you can change the background. Okay, so that's the first lesson, and probably one of the hardest to start with, but there you go.